Hi everyone, and welcome back to the FYB Rugby Round Table. And this week is Mental Health Awareness Week, and it just seemed right that we chat to my old friend Tom Home from blOKes about life and see where the blokes concept has gone and where it's heading to. He's been on all sorts of news platforms over the last few days, so it's just it just seemed perfect to have a chat and just chew the fat. And Tom, thank you for giving up some time.
No, mate. Honestly, I'm happy to help a good mate out when and wherever possible. So I'm happy to be here, mate.
First things first, how are you?
Yeah, do you know what, mate? I'm good. It's been just like I was saying before we jumped on. We're only on Wednesday now, but honestly, it feels like I've worked for like the last 2 weeks solid. It's been a busy week, but I suppose with it being Mental Health Awareness Week, it's good. It's good that it's busy. It's all been So yeah, it's all been good stuff because I'm usually someone who's very good at seeming busy but not being productive. But thankfully, it's
Yeah,
been the other way around
me
this week.
too.
It's been
Me too.
yeah,
I could procrastinate until the day is long.
mate. I know, me too. How are you, mate?
Yeah,
How are you getting on?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all right. Still job hunting, but working on something cool for Philly Boots that will come out in the summer. So that is, I'm treating that as a full-time job at the minute. So
Yeah,
which
definitely.
which I know you've seen bits of. So yeah, we'll keep that under wraps for now. But yeah, it's good. As you said, it's all hugely exciting, and there's a lot of things going on. It's just trying to find something to keep the wolf from the door at the moment. But it is what it is, and we'll get there eventually. But yeah, as you said, it's Mental Health Awareness Week, and there's sort of lots of chat around sort of men's mental health at the moment, which there should be anyway. Just if, for people that don't know, just give us a quick rundown on blokes and how it all started and where it is.
Yeah, so I started blokes in June last year. It's a social enterprise, so a CIC, and basically it provides men 16 and over with a platform where they can join a community of like-minded men, all talking about their thoughts and feelings. It's very much I don't like to use the word informal, but it's very much a more kind of relaxed environment in the sense of it's just guys talking about their experiences, stories, sharing tips and guidance and that sort of stuff. So I suppose in a way, I always like to position it as being kind of the bridge between a man, sorry, first kind of acknowledging his mental health to actually then maybe going on to get the help that he needs. Because I think even just from experience, like I know how overwhelming it can be to go from being diagnosed to then actually being, as the usual route goes, being prescribed antidepressants and being referred for therapy and counselling. And I think that can all happen so quickly. And I know from my experience, I found that really kind of, it was all positive, but it was all overwhelming. It was all, as somebody who had never really thought about mental health in the sense of it being applied to myself before, to go from being told you've got what seems like anxiety, depression, and PTSD, to then 3 weeks later being on a course of antidepressants and being booked in for counselling and therapy. It just went so fast. And yeah, I think ultimately it's just providing men with another option that they may want to explore before they well, as part of their recovery or part of their coping process.
Yeah, and I guess before, as you just said, being prescribed something, I know from my own experience, once you're on them, it's very hard to get off. Luckily, I'm in a good place right now where I haven't taken them for a long time, but there was a long time where I was on them,
Yeah.
and if I had that outlet to share what was going on in my head, then do you know what? I think I probably would have come off them a lot quicker and wouldn't have had that sort of stigma of men's mental health, which is which we all know is it's still a massive thing. What you're doing is great. There's a Joe Marler documentary as we record
Yeah.
tonight on Wednesday. There's the Joe Marler documentary on Sky, which whether you like Joe or not, and I love the guy. It's going to be one hell of a documentary. We know it is. So I think it'd be very eye opening for people to see a professional sportsman in that light. So I think all these things have helped. Do you think? Where do you think that sort of stands now between? How different is the stigma now than it was, even just a few years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly the stigma around men's mental health in particular, I think it's something that has definitely had a lot more focus on it over the last couple of years. And I think, through the likes of people, even just from a rugby perspective, like Joe Marler, like Johnny Wilkinson, all of these, world class, world renowned rugby players who have come out and spoken about their experiences of mental health, whether that be anxiety or depression or even just stress management, before a game. I remember watching might have even been a Building Jerusalem, it might have been the England documentary about
Yeah,
Johnny saying before a game he used to lock himself in a cubicle and literally would be retching or close to vomiting because he was that nervous about the game, but about his performance in particular. He didn't want to be the loose end that let the team down. And I think, having all of these, role models in the world of rugby coming out and actually talking openly about their mental health is amazing. And even, moving away from the world of rugby, the likes of Tyson Fury,
yeah,
obviously, even people like Marvin Sordell, the footballer he's played for Watford and various other teams, coming out and using their platforms to actually give mental health in general a voice, I think is amazing. And obviously, I think over the last couple of years, there's been a huge rise in the amount of kind of support networks and support outlets that have been created around men's mental health. So, yeah, I think it's something that I think you definitely can't say that it's there yet, and because I think, and ultimately, I think whenever there's a sentence where the words mental health are in a bunch together, I think there's always going to be that kind of taboo-ness around it that kind of stays there. But I think definitely I would say that it's becoming a lot more of a accepted topic,
yeah,
because as cliche as it sounds, and we hear it every time mental health's mentioned, but everyone in the world, regardless of who you are, what age, gender, religion, race, sexuality, whatever, we all have mental health. It's something that will never ever change. And it's equally as important as our physical health. So yeah, why shouldn't we talk about it? Why shouldn't we give it a spotlight?
absolutely. And so, it's Mental Health Awareness Week. There's lots of stuff, lots of conversations happening with lots of different outlets: Loose Heads, Mindset, Give a Ruck, Brave Mind, blOKes. There's lots of mental health awareness projects, I guess we can call them, doing some great things this week. What have blokes been doing to sort of put themselves out there and gain some more traction?
Yeah, so I think on Monday we kind of launched our We All Have Mental Health video, which obviously you kindly took part in.
I know
I
there's
think,
so many top people in there. I feel really out of place.
right, not at all. I think this is kind of what I wanted to get across, is that whole concept of whether you are somebody who's won a Rugby World Cup like Neil Back, or whether you're someone like me who has is just me. We all have that idea of mental health, and it is all something that binds us together. So we had like some people may have seen, we had some amazing people in that, like I mentioned, Neil Back, Stuart Broad, Jason Fox, Tikela Nayavoro, among loads and loads of other people, which was incredible to see. And I'm hugely thankful for everybody that took part in that, because ultimately without everyone I couldn't have done it. So that was launched on Monday. I was also really fortunate enough to be asked to be a panelist on a webinar on Monday evening for the Quins Foundation.
Oh yeah,
Which
how was that?
cool. Yeah,
I didn't manage to
mate,
catch it, but
it was really good, actually. It was really nice. We had Glenn Clark from Movember, and we had Charlotte
yeah, I know
Welby Love
Glenn.
from the
Yeah,
women's team. Yeah, Andy
Glenn
Sanger.
is actually, for the next series of the roundtable, Glenn is going to be producing he's got a great voice. If you go and check him
He
out on
does.
Twitter and Facebook, he does some brilliant impressions as well. So he's going to be doing like a so what they call it. He's going to be announcing the pod every week, which is going to be cool in his one of his voices.
He does. He's got a very calming voice, I find.
Yeah.
I feel like I could chat to him for hours. So yeah, and as I said, we had Charlotte Welby-Love, who's obviously she's part of the women's team, but she's also an ambassador for Brave Minds. Andy Sanger, who's I'm sorry if I get his title wrong, but I believe he's like a player welfare officer. And then obviously the whole thing was kind of facilitated and hosted by Nick Heath, which was awesome. You know, for a lot of people, in mine included, the voice of rugby. So yeah,
the voice of commentating on dogs running around parks.
He did actually, do you know what?
During
he did actually
lockdown.
mention that. He actually did mention that.
He's brilliant. I love Nick to death.
Yeah, no, he's a really good guy. And again, he contributed for the video, which was amazing. But no, so that was really good. And actually, I'm quite excited because tonight we have our kind of inaugural signposting workshop, which is I'm really looking forward to. It's been facilitated by our kind of clinical delivery partner, Mark from Willow Grove Consulting, which is really cool. So hugely appreciate him giving up his time to do that. And yeah, I think it's going to be good. We've got a good number of people signed up to the point where I think it could be nice and quite intimate and quite personal, which is nice. Yeah, so it's been a busy week, but it's been a really, really good week. And then obviously I think another thing that I'd like to point out as well is our ambassador Tom Stevenson started his Try for 5 today, which is where he's attempting to run 5 marathons in 5 days, and obviously starting at Franklin's Gardens, being an old Saints boy, and he's doing it to raise money for Restart Rugby, which is really cool. And literally just before we jumped on, I actually saw on Twitter that there's loads and all the Saints players and staff have kind of gathered outside Franklin's Gardens to kind of see him off, and Dylan Hartley popped back down to kind of see him, which I thought was really nice. So
really cool.
Yeah, so he should be finishing at Twickenham in as I say 5 days time, which I mean the thought of running half a marathon, let alone 5 in 5 days is I begin to get sweaty palms and sweat just thinking about it, let alone trying to do it. But you know, he's done amazingly well, and he's raised just over £15,000 at the moment. His target's 20. He's got a bit of an online auction at the moment going, which is cool, like loads of old signed kit. And for somebody who's absolutely mad for rugby stash, I've had a bid on a few items. And believe it or not, the item that I'm still winning is there's a signed Ulster fly half jersey.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm still winning on that because obviously with my missus being from Northern Ireland, and I thought, oh, go on then, I'll have a bit of a bid on that, and yeah, still winning. So hopefully if I win, that'll take nice pride of place in the empty gap that kind of needs filling over there.
But if you want to beat Tom, we'll put all the links in the descriptions and stuff like that, so you can try and outbid him for his Ulster, make him pay a bit more.
That's what I was going to say. If you want to keep driving the price up, just head over to Tom's auction. But at the end of the day, it all goes to a good cause, good bit of fun, isn't it? So, do you know what? It's actually something I wanted to ask you about as a Quinn supporter is obviously, and it kind of is on the idea of mental health. Is what was your take on Carl Sinclair's interview the other day after the Bath game?
I thought the interview was brilliant. It showed a lot of passion. It showed a lot of heart. It showed that he'd grown up a lot. Because I'm sure he will tell you that it wasn't that long ago. He was a bit of a loose cannon, perhaps. And actually, over the last year or so, that we've probably seen the best of Carl Sinclair as a bloke. I don't know him personally. I've met him. It was very nice to me. I thought the interview was brilliant. I don't know whether this will sound controversial, but I wonder whether him being arrested on the last tour probably had something to do with him not being selected. If I'm honest, look, we have to be honest here. That hasn't been brought up as much as it probably could have done. Whether Gatland just decided that was the bit that chose him and someone else. And I genuinely do think he will be on the tour at some point.
Mm.
But I also think while other people aren't there, it could be a perfect opportunity to let him captain England in the summer. And I think that will be huge for him. And yeah, I love what he said. I felt it because it's difficult, isn't it, when you explain the Lions what it is to a non-rugby fan, trying to explain that 4 countries come as one every 4 years. You play, what's now probably half a dozen games, rather, a few years ago it was a dozen games. You come together in that short space of time and you make history. And if you're gonna try and explain that the Lions to him, to someone, you show him that interview and you show him what it means, because you could see the amount of emotion in his face, and I absolutely loved it. And I have no doubt that he will be on the tour at some point. It's a small squad. He'll be there. He'll be one of the first that will be called up if needed. So I absolutely loved it. I think he's a wonderful rugby player. My only thing is, did the arrest on the last tour hamper his relationship with Gatland? Yeah, in the same way that, whilst Billy Vunipola isn't necessarily in the same form, he slagged him off a year ago in an interview. So maybe that's also why he wasn't selected. Perhaps. Look, I'm just a fan, just like you are. We can speculate all day long. We don't know. We're not going to be there. We're not in the trenches that those guys are selecting squads. But yeah, I thought Carl Sinclair was very incredibly passionate. What did you think?
Yeah, I think it was obviously it was really, really incredible to see just how much the Lions meant to him. And as you say, if you did want to show somebody who's not a rugby fan or doesn't necessarily understand the concept of the Lions, what the Lions means to, I suppose, players and fans alike, you would just show them that, because that really does embody the spirit of the Lions. But
absolutely,
it was upsetting to see as well, because obviously it's never nice to see somebody who is, physically and mentally really, really kind of hurting.
But then on the other side of that, sorry to cut you off, but on the other side of that, wasn't it the most perfect way to send a message to everybody? He puts in a man of the match performance. He was phenomenal. Probably the best he's played for a year. He puts in a man of the match performance. He gives that interview, and now he's at the forefront of that conversation for a replacement eventually. And I just think that sums up the man. That sums up everything.
Sums up his character.
It all together.
Yeah.
So
I think, ultimately, it's the Lions. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be people who potentially between now and the tour either pull out or can't go or whatever it may be. So yeah, I think obviously Carl's going to be one of the first to be called up as and when that happens. I think just purely from a selector's perspective, Gatland's never lost a Lions tour. Winning Australia, draw against New Zealand, so clearly he knows what he's doing. But yeah, I think obviously Kyle's now put himself in an amazing position where he's sort of said, look, all right, I'm like he said in the interview, I'm going to use all this anger and this frustration to my advantage, and I'm going to put in these huge shifts. And I think obviously, like you said, he did that in exactly the perfect way, starting off against Bath. But it was also afterwards where Ugo Monye was obviously quite. I suppose he was quite emotionally impacted by Kyle in his interview, and in a good way. Obviously, you know, I think having been on a tour himself, he knows better than anybody else, especially towards South Africa. He knows what it means to be a Lion out there. But I think, like I say, obviously, it is upsetting to see Kyle as upset as he was. But yeah, I think first and foremost, it was a really well handled interview.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you say, I don't doubt we'll see him on a plane over to South Africa.
Yeah,
You know,
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So I guess on the other side of that, same sort of vein, Mike Brown was told today that he'll probably not play in a Quinn shirt again. Look, we can only speculate about how he's feeling at the moment, but he must be feeling bloody awful, knowing that, you know, the club that he's played for 300 plus times, was on 97 tries, almost at 100. Would have loved to have played in a, you know, potentially a semi-final or a final for his club before moving to Newcastle. That must be incredibly tough now, knowing that that's not going to happen, or especially not happening in a league situation.
Yeah, I think. I mean, look, I think.
And we can't take away the fact that he did what he did in the game. You know, if you listen to this and you didn't see it, his foot landed on Tommy Taylor's face. Whether it was a stamp or, you know, completely unintentional, that is down to the panel to decide, not a witch hunt by social media. But he'll know himself, and, you know, I got to spend some time with him during the Six Nations, and you couldn't have asked for a nicer human being, a top human being. So I just, you know, you now worry because he hasn't made any comment about it. Do you worry about all the stuff that he's gone through over the last 72, 96 hours, I guess?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's important to recognise, like you said, certainly from what I know of him and from what I know others have said about him, there's not a bad bone in his body. He's not historically been a dirty player. He's always been
charged. You can call him. He's emotionally charged.
Yeah,
but he's not.
You know,
he's not dirty.
No, not at all.
There's a massive difference.
You know, even, you know, I'm not here to necessarily give an opinion on the what happened, but I think obviously everyone who's played rugby has had that mad rush of blood to the head, haven't they? Really, you know, whether that be, you know, flying into a ruck with no arms, or hitting someone late, or not that I'm condoning that. I'm just giving examples. Yeah. You know, so I think anybody that criticizes and, you know, can't truly say they're perfect themselves. I think obviously it's a really sad and probably more for him, really frustrating way for him to finish his Quins career, because, you know, I know he's been quite vocal over the last couple of months in terms of leaving the club, but, you know, he has been, he in my eyes goes down as a Quins legend without a doubt.
Oh, they'll be building a statue of him, I hope.
Yeah, I think he's been such an amazing servant for the club. He's been so consistent, and yeah, I think he'll be really, really missed next season. But in terms of, I suppose, going back to the original question of kind of where his head's been at over the last, you know, 48 hours, 72 hours, I think, I mean, I can't even begin to imagine what must have been going through his head. But obviously, I think there will have been this real kind of mixed basket of emotions. Obviously, you do have that frustration, that kind of, I don't want to speculate that maybe there will have been a bit of a guilt in there, but obviously I think maybe he looks back and maybe, I don't know, but, you know, certainly he'll be upset, he'll be frustrated, he'll be annoyed. And obviously that's not how he would have liked to have gone out. Obviously, as you say, he'd have liked to have helped Quins get to another Premiership final and hope, you know, potentially go on and win that final. So yeah, I think there'll definitely be some frustration, but as you say, it's not for anybody to judge. And I think as well, it's certainly not something
on judging then is how much of a, this is going to sound silly because if people are watching this, they're watching it on Facebook. the Philly Boots is a social media platform. How much is everything now trial by social media? Whether it's anything, whether it's life or rugby or whatever, everything seems to be a trial by social media.
Yeah, I mean, I think we live in an age where, social media for the most part, certainly over the last year and a bit, has been the main form of communication between people. I think it allows everybody to have an opinion and a platform to air their opinions. Obviously, I think some people, unfortunately, don't use that in a constructive way. They use it, as you say, to provide very much a trial by social media. And it was like, I'm going to go back to the Quins webinar that was on Monday. Charlotte was actually talking about this, and she was saying over the last year in particular, because people haven't had really a great deal of things to do. She said that she's definitely kind of seen, there are more people who are airing their opinions, who are just kind of, because they're sitting there with nothing else to do. I think I think people have a habit and a knack of finding the negative in anything. There's always, for every 100 positive comments, there's always one negative comment. There's always one person who is, just prepared to kind of throw a spanner in the works. And look, I fully believe that everybody is entitled to their opinion, but I think people need to think carefully about what they type, because ultimately, again, sorry to keep harping on about the webinar on Monday, but
no, go for it.
I think people see definitely elite sports people in general as these people who are on a pedestal, let's say, because they are these public figures who do excel in what they do. But I think there are people behind that public facing, public facing image, and I think that's where kind of, I think, is the real kind of frustrating and really damaging part. Is there are people behind, for example, let's be honest, with Marla putting out his documentary later today, there are going to be people who, like you and I, think it's fantastic, think Joe's a really good guy, and think what he's done in the mental health space is amazing, because I think hats off to him. But no doubt there will be people who watch the documentary or don't even bother watching the documentary, who will just
preconceived ideas.
Yeah, who will just go on social media and just write what they want to. And I think that, that's the really sad and dangerous part about kind of the modern day usage of social media, is that while I think it is good that everybody does have an opinion and does have an opportunity to voice their thoughts, that I think people definitely need to be a bit more conscious before they hit the send or submit button, because you don't necessarily understand the wider ripple effect that can have on someone. And not that I want to necessarily make it all doom and gloom, but you look at someone like Caroline Flack, for example. She was obviously, what was happening with her partner at the time was very much in the public eye, and obviously what happened, and the really kind of frustrating and sad and horrible part of it all was the same people who were commenting under, and this is the same people who were saying, "Oh, isn't it terrible that she's done this and that," and she's been accused of this. After it was announced that she had taken her own life, it was probably, I guarantee it, those same people were like, "Oh, mental health matters. We need to really, support people and not troll." And it's like, why should it get to the point where people are feeling that the only option to get away from the social media hatred is to take their own life? And even the social media boycott that happened a couple of weekends ago, you know, I thought that the stuff that the small kind of snippets that BT Sport put out, you know, people like Austin Healy and David Hay sort of saying stuff like, you know, that I get abuse every day. You know, every single day I get some form of abuse, whether it's a comment or a DM or a tag, and that is no. I just
It's
can't
awful.
imagine.
Absolutely
I
awful.
can't. I cannot begin to imagine how that must be to
Live with.
live with, and also to think that every time you log on to a social media account, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, whatever, Facebook, that you're probably going to have some form of abuse. And I think it's a problem that is being highlighted more and is obviously being tackled or attempted to be tackled more. But yeah, I think until social media channels change their change their ways and actually make everybody accountable for what is put out there in the public sphere, I think it's nothing's really going to change, because you know, if somebody's got their display picture of Snoopy the dog and DPY 4777, you know, but you know, they don't care if they're posting hate or trolling, or you know, because ultimately they don't feel that they're held responsible.
Right, I 100% agree. 100% agree. So let's move on. No, that was quite dark. So let's move on to some light as we sort of wind down. You know, what does the next 12 months look like for yourself and for blOKes?
Yeah, I think definitely my main focus is to actually start doing some more physical events and physical sessions, because obviously as the world begins to open up a little bit more, it would be nice to be able to host fundraising events and workshops and various different things. I think, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I'm somebody that plans hugely in advance. I'm quite an impulsive person. So yeah, I think that's definitely the main kind of priorities for me. And I think as well, another thing that I'd really like to do is we've started to on our kind of online forum space, we've started to categorize different forums by different audiences. So obviously we do have our kind of everyman forum that is for anybody and everybody that wants to chat. We've also recently launched our uniform forum, which is specifically for sixth form men in sick or young men in sixth form and university students who want to chat, or you know, it may be sixth form students who are nervous about A levels or moving away from home, who can then use the lived experience and build on the lived experience that these students have, university students have, just for that, even if it's just a little boost of confidence, you know. So obviously I think it'd be cool to really start building on that and create some even more refined kind of spaces. And yeah, ultimately just keep building the partnership program, keep trying to work with as many different clubs and mental health conscious organizations as possible to support them. And you know, I think ultimately what I want to do and what I'm passionate about is making mental health education and mental health resources readily available and free for anybody and everybody that needs it.
Absolutely. I think that's a perfect way to end. And in your not too distant future, next Friday, you're going to be buying me a beer.
I am indeed, and I'm very much looking forward to
it. And you should buy your ticket for Harlequins versus Wasps at the Stoop while you're in town. Come watch the Mighty Quins. Look, I don't want to take up too much of your time. You're incredibly busy this week, but look, I'm really, really happy that you said, yeah, come on, let's come and have a chat. Because we haven't caught up for ages, and actually all we did was press record. We didn't catch up beforehand. We haven't planned anything. So you know, this pod might have sounded a bit sort of higgledy-piggledy and you know, all over the place, and probably lots of ums and ahs. But actually, it was a great opportunity just to catch up with my mate and you know, speak about the things that are going on in your world. And you know, it's always great to hear from you. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that being next week.
Yeah, me too, mate. It'd be good to actually be able to catch up in person.
Definitely. This summer sees the British and Irish Lions tour to South Africa. And here at Philly Boots, we have teamed up with Canterbury to bring you a series of special episodes celebrating these incredible clubs who have had legendary Lions players come through their ranks throughout the years. In our special series, the Philly Boots Rugby Round Table Lions Origins Clubs, presented by Canterbury. We will have 9 special episodes, one on each Lions match day, celebrating just a few of these incredible clubs. There'll be plenty of prizes to give away too, and hopefully a few special guests show up on these shows as well. Keep an eye on all our social channels for all the information, and a massive thanks to Canterbury for supporting this series.